Well, percenters, welcome back to 1424 Basketball Training, where the goal is to take 14 minutes, 24 seconds, or 1% of your day to get better. I'm Coach Tommy. In today's video, Thinking Basketball, Michael Jordan, Greatest Peaks, Episode 6. Let's go.
His legendary moments. You know Michael Jordan.
MJ.
Moments. You know that fadeaway. You know his aerial gifts.
Kobe.
You know
I miss Kobe.
as a scorer. The ins and outs of his passing game.
The greatest scorer of all time.
And weaknesses. Jordan's mystique grew in the 90s, but did he actually reach his peak before he ever hoisted a championship trophy? And were those the best seasons that we've ever seen on a basketball court?
The greatest scorer of all time, the greatest competitor of all time, the greatest guard defender.
This series tackled one question. Who was the best at on-court impact?
1989 to 91.
He's the best athlete. He's one of the best competitors. He's one of the most skilled players. And that, to me, makes him the best basketball player that I've ever seen play.
In this series, we've seen how big
The best athlete. He's definitely one of the best athletes ever.
men ruled the game for decades, and how the offensive brilliance of Magic Johnson and Larry Bird reimagined what taller players could do. But there were high-flying wings with offensive success in the 60s and 70s, too. Elgin Baylor was the first superstar who really attacked vertically off the bounce. Then Julius Erving and David Thompson extended that approach.
No.
As a kid growing up in North Carolina, Jordan idolized Thompson, who combined an explosive first step with a little skywalking to finish third in MVP voting in 1978. Jordan was the next leap in that evolutionary chain, and his incredible first step set a new standard for attacking the rim. When he entered the league, Michael could just teleport around defenders with his burst, able to get around players in just a single step. Even though he was a hair slower by 1989, this incredible acceleration was always the foundation of Jordan's success. He hair slower by 1989.
So if you watch these highlights of Jordan, a lot of the way Jordan jumps back then is off of 2 feet. This jump right here.
And even though he was a hair
Back then, there's so much physicality that if you jumped off of 1 foot, you're crazy, or it had to be completely wide open.
slower by 1989, this incredible acceleration was always the foundation of
Like that. This is a one hop. This is the elastic type hop that I tell you guys about. Very rarely seen in today's game. Kelly Oubre. I don't even know. A lot of players don't jump like this anymore. Jalen Green. Jalen McHugh, that kid does it too. Right here. Okay, this is off the balls of your feet. A lot of guys do this shit, do this wrong. Or not wrong, just in a different way. And it's a whole different mechanic if you're hitting toe first, balls of your feet first, versus heels first.
He burned defenders to the right.
Like there's one time when Jordan broke his foot, he said he landed on his heel. You shouldn't be landing on your heel excessively and at high speeds if you're not able to transfer that energy quickly or dissipate the energy quickly, especially if you're not strong. If you go full blast and try to land and jump on your heels, you're going to break something.
Right or to the left with this penetration, and he was so quick that blinking was dangerous. Joe Dumars flinches at a turnaround here and then becomes a turn stop.
See, even here, look at this turn, catches, looks at the rim, he gets up one right here, hop onto two. And when I talk about mechanics and energy and foot placement and how your feet go up, okay, wide base, okay. So when you push down into the floor this way, the floor pushes you back this way, and then your force vectors end up going straight up. So in the teaching tape, I did it, an example off of Jalen Green shooting.
There wasn't anything special about this being the first step. It was just mind-bending acceleration. Jordan's like
right here,
like
1-2 jump. Okay. So when I talk about like accelerating into the jump, the right foot here is accelerating into the jump and this foot is back. Okay. So all of the force coming this way, you have to plant this foot hard into the floor diagonally this way in front of your center of mass for that energy to come back. And then it's colliding with this, giving you this vertical impulse with a little bit of momentum going this way. A lot of players don't know how to jump. I don't know whether it's because they don't think they could ever dunk. They've never challenged themselves. A coach has never challenged them to jump. They don't want to jump. But yeah, I don't know exactly why it is, because players, they don't even think they can touch the rim or the net or the backboard. They don't jump. You see this a lot with girls. Like they don't know how to jump at all, even though they're made basically the exact same way as men.
Are racing against Priuses. That acceleration shot him out of a cannon, and that speed was a launch pad for his vertical finishing. He's flying by the second step here, and that helps him actually fly. Really, the man spent so much time in the air, he could have registered a tail number with the FAA. Some of these drives remind me of a running back turning the corner, where he'd take off and get really low, then transfer all that energy into his leaping. Note how his body protects the ball here as he hovers to the other side of the rim. And he leveraged his body as an airborne shield like this, especially when jumping off of into contact. Michael was strong enough to absorb hits while airborne like this, and these physical gifts helped him reach the line. And
it's not really strong. This dude said he's strong.
Physical gifts helped him reach the line.
This is like semi-strong, but this is poise. It's more poise and coordination in the air. A lot of kids, I do this drill with a pad, and they jump into the pad. I'm holding the pad, or have somebody else hold the pad. The kid jumps into the thing, and then if I give them a little push, they go flying. Every little kid goes flying until they figure out how to get hit. Okay, don't freak out when they're in the air like this, and then they can learn how to shoot it. A lot of kids just freak out. It's not necessarily strength. It's not strength, because I could do this with kids as young as 6th grade. They know how to do this, and they just haven't had, I could probably try with younger kids, but it's kind of pointless at that point. It's not strength, it's poise.
But Michael simply overwhelmed them with relentless pressure on the rim. His huge hand.
And when we were talking about like the one-on-one T-Mac was trying to start in the teaching tape. This is what one-on-one against a very elite scorer, elite athlete is going to look like. It's just going to be a simple jab, and you're just going to blow by that person, or like a jab and shoot.
Hands helped make some of this aerial wizardry possible, manipulating the ball in the air on these drives, or holding it away from shot blockers. That's near the top of the square on the release, and these things were so big that the ball could slip off mid-shot, and he could still reset it in his catcher's mitts like nothing happened. Of
That's
course,
poise.
time also makes this work too, contorting and bending his body around bigger.
That's athletic.
Jordan displayed the most fluid body control of perhaps any player ever, slithering around opponents and
fluid
shot attempts. And we haven't even mentioned his footwork, which was balletic at times, allowing him to keep his balance while pivoting around like a top, and then that hanging aerial control to still square his shoulders on the shot. His legs were kicked out of the foul here, and it didn't matter.
So this is so beautiful. Between the legs, spin, and when the guy gets under you, okay, and he hip checks you, do you just let him push you while keeping your upper body stiff? See how he just gets under him and he just lets his lower body go, okay, understanding where he's at in space. Then he lands.
Didn't matter. All that hovering and twisting helped Michael's mid-range game too. His typical pull-ups were supercharged with that elevation, hitting a trampoline and then firing over defenders. And whether he was twisting, leaning, or stopping on a dime, he could square his shoulders and still shoot. And this kinesthetic mastery made his famous dagger against Cleveland in 1989 possible.
Kinesthetic mastery.
Kinesthetic mastery made his famous dagger against Cleveland in.
That's a great word. Being a psychologist, there's many ways to learn, right? There's spatial awareness, which kids don't get. If you don't play with other kids, it's very, very rare for you to get it. Kinesthetic, kind of like body, anything you're touching. You have auditory, which I'm yelling at you guys right now, lecturing at you guys now. You got, what is this, vision or seeing. A lot of people like to see. So me being a coach, I have to be aware, or it's my duty to be a good coach. If I want to be a good coach, I have to teach differently. Some people are spatial. Some people are, they have to feel certain things, like intuitive. Okay, people like to experience before they have any idea. Like I can yell directions 3 times, and as soon as I start the drill, nobody knows how to do it because they need to do it. They don't even listen. If I don't demonstrate it or have someone demonstrate it, some kids have no idea what's going on because they have to see it first. It's just, humans are different. People are different. People have different gifts.
But right there, squares himself comfortably and strokes it. Incredible.
You don't need to be square.
Right there.
Okay, you don't need to be square. If I take a picture, at this angle looking up, it looks like he jumps higher. If I take a picture down at this way, it's going to look like he's not square. That's a big myth. Okay, just learn how to control your wrist however you're doing. Remember, picture stops this whole thing. His whole body is moving this way, so in actuality the ball has to shoot back coming across his body. Like he's moving this way, the ball has to slowly come back this way, and it has to be arced. So squaring in the air, it's a good term to use to help people understand. But if you really get down into the depths of it, it's all about controlling your arms, your wrist.
Comfortably and strokes it. Incredible. We shouldn't overlook his shooting from the mid-range either. He was an 85% free throw shooter during these years and was a knockdown shooter inside 20 feet when given space. but he also created space vertically with that leaping ability, changing directions and springing clear for a good look. Michael didn't make thousands of jumpers with a hand in his face. He made thousands by jumping so high, his releases were rarely ever bothered. As you probably
so here, when you jump so high and you wait and you're like this mid-range, you've essentially eliminated all your legs. So right here, he has no more leg power. This is all arms. So when people say like legs are more important for shooting, you can have them debate me.
He made thousands by jumping so high.
But after you jump, at the peak of your jump, there's no more jump. Like there's no more power coming from your legs. And if he's shooting on the way down, which he did a lot, or at the peak, there's no more energy coming from the legs.
Handle was good enough to support sharp cuts, and he really liked this low in and out dribble to set up defenders and probe for open space. He wasn't an incredible ball handler, but he was good enough to knife around the court. And since he could also score at the basket with either hand, Jordan's robust repertoire made him the greatest scorer in NBA history. If we look at 3-year playoff stretches, and but he was good enough to knife around the court and for open space. He wasn't an incredible ball handler, but
he wasn't an incredible ball handler. An incredible ball handler can get to wherever they want, whenever they want. And I think Jordan could do that. Was it because of his athleticism? He does not need every single trick in the bag like Kyrie Irving because he's just much, much, much more superior athletically.
Was good enough to knife around the court.
Like I said, dribbling is like a crutch. It's like fighting. You don't want to get in a fight unless you need to. And if you do get in a fight, I hope you're prepared. So dribbling, having all the skills like Kyrie Irving is an added plus. Do you need to use it? Like look at Magic Johnson, never used it. They were saying he's one of the greatest offensive players. Here's MJ, very, very little behind the back, tween, hezzy cross, all that stuff.
He could also score at the basket with either hand. Jordan's robust repertoire made him the greatest scorer in NBA history. If we look at 3-year playoff stretches and adjust for inflation to 20-point scoring rates, Jordan scored an astounding 34 points every 75 possessions on true shooting 7% better than average from 1989 to 1991. He holds the top 9 stretches in postseason scoring rate, peaking in the late 80s and early 90s when his explosiveness was still intact and his mid-range accuracy was dialed in. He could always fall back on his most iconic move, fadeaway. See what I did there? Sometimes MJ would get right into this off the catch, and that hang time and separation created really clean releases. He preferred going to his right.
There's so many reasons why that fadeaway is so deadly.
Always fall back on his most iconic.
One, because he jumps high. Two, because he understands how to contort his body. He understands how to jump. Okay, so when I talk about jumping here, look at his feet. Right, this is closed right now. His shoulders into this guy's chest.
Move.
So then he jumps, and then he can aim.
See what I did there? Sometimes MJ would.
Okay, here again, jump, and then he elevates over. So if you're not elevating over somebody, you're not going to be able to have this.
And that hang time and separation created really clean releases.
Here, right, spin.
He preferred going to his right.
And then understanding the angles. Okay, so when you fade away, going to your right, it's a lot easier for right-handers. Okay, so these shots are a lot tougher. Go try to jump like this. This is much tougher this way. So fading away baseline over this right shoulder, much tougher jump.
When that vintage fade to the other side started popping up more regularly, I recommend J. Kyle Mann's History of the Fadeaway for more on this shot. Go
to the gym yourself and work on that fadeaway. Okay, not a one-legger, because a one-legger, the mechanics are different. The way you jump is different. Okay, you're pushing into space. LeBron doesn't even do a two-legged fadeaway. Okay, because LeBron doesn't know how to jump like this. LeBron prefers the one-legged fade.
When that vintage fade to the other side started popping up more regularly, I recommend J. Kyle Mann's History of the Fadeaway for more on this shot. Since the triangle offense organically generated post-ups, Phil Jackson's arrival in 1991.
Like that shot is so tough, this one. Here, boom, back in, hezzy, okay, feet.
Facilitated more
you have to jump so high.
Phil Jackson's arrival in 19.
Right there, look at his feet, right? They're both pointing away, and the body is this way. So you have to bring the ball up and around, and you got to shoot it from a high position. Most of the power is going to come off the left leg, but you have to keep this right leg down to keep this defender away. And then you're jumping and falling away.
Facilitated more fadeaways for Jordan. Here's a great counter cut, audibly off this route with the defender overplaying him and flashing right back to the low block for the catch and turn. Michael's agility helped him off ball too, using screens and setting up opponents for sharp changes in direction that freed him up.
So when I talk about if you can catch it, you can shoot it. MJ gets a lot of love, but this is his off-ball brilliance, kind of like Steph Curry, Rip Hamilton, Reggie Miller.
Using screens and setting up opponents for.
So when people deny the shit out of you, you need good passers to get you the ball into a spot that you can score. So right here on the catch, right, ball in the air, feet in there, lands both feet down, fades, controls, lines it up.
So much of Chicago's offense before Phil Jackson was bringing Jordan.
So it's like chess and checkers, and I say it's like I don't know, Sun Tzu, you win the battle before it's even fought. Here.
And since he was comfortable flowing into attacks like this since his college days, was bringing
like when do you ever see this in today's game? Who does this? Nobody. I mean, other than Steph Curry, it's like so rare.
He was comfortable flowing into attacks like this since his college days. The activity and principles of the triangle helped harness his off-ball movement. The triangle offense prioritizes balancing the floor and ball movement, principles that play right into Jordan's strengths as a catch and go score.
That's a catch and fade.
Floor and ball movement. Principles that play right in.
Right, the defender goes under, so he reads it and he fades. The passer makes the right pass. He steps away, gets himself a little space. He's so athletic, so the closeouts, they'd rather give up the jumper than close out hard and get dunked on.
While Michael could read screens and then flash to open areas well, he could also punish ball denial with that quick change of direction. And with increased space, he was so hard to contain.
Imagine MJ on the Golden State Warriors. Oh, that'd be nasty.
Organic, feeling an overplay, then darting through the bucket.
You have to have very, very intelligent players.
Right out of traps like this instead of idling. And even when a teammate misses him, those cuts could lead to rebounds. All his activity and his athleticism made him an excellent offensive rebounder, which is often overlooked because he was usually doing the shooting. But this
again here
made him an excellent offensive rebounder, which is often overlooked because he was usually doing the shooting. But this added additional.
What is that shooter?
On the other hand, his weakness as an off-ball player was his three-point shooting, where he peaked at 34% on low volume. It didn't seem to matter if these were pull-ups or catch-and-shoot chances, but I do think Jordan's release at the apex of his huge jump limited his range to a degree. When the NBA shortened the line to 22 feet in 1995, Mike made huge jump, limited his range to a degree. When the NBA shortened the line to 22 feet in 1995, Mike made 38% on over 750 attempts before struggling again when the line returned to 24 feet. Otherwise, Jordan was such a dynamic attempt. When the NBA shortened the line to 22 feet in 1995, apex of his huge jump limited his range to a degree. When the NBA shortened the line to 22 feet in 1995, Mike made 38% on over 750.
22 feet to 24 feet, that's a big difference. An extra 2 feet. MJ, oh my God, what did I do? MJ has a
breakdowns in these matchups.
No. MJ has a huge vert, and the trajectory at which you launch that ball, right, plays such a factor into how the ball goes in. So since he jumps so high on the mid ranges and stuff like that, I'm telling you that he has no power from the legs. He's not transferring that energy through the ball very good. So as you see, like on his 3-pointers, he jumps a lot less and he's shooting kind of on the way down. If you ever watch like old MJ shoot, like just like 50-year-old, 40-year-old MJ, he's a lot better at it and he jumps a lot lower. And that's not, you can't say MJ's not strong enough to shoot threes. It's just a matter of timing and transferring that energy out of your feet and to shoot the ball versus to jump.
Or struggling again when the line returned to 24 feet.
Things way too flat.
Otherwise, Jordan was such a dynamic scorer that he flummoxed almost any defense of the time. The Bad Boys Pistons dented him slightly, but that's about it. And yet, despite his otherworldly scoring gifts, he wouldn't have 6 championships without a.
If the 3-point line were around before and he really needed it, I guarantee you MJ would have worked at it and been a deadly 3-point shooter. There's no doubt in my mind.
Part of his game that is often overlooked.
Oh my God, look at that throw.
When Michael was younger, he was often criticized for shooting into double teams frequently. And while his athleticism was breathtaking, his shot selection was questionable at times. Some of these were really difficult attempts. He was so skilled that it's hard to say he took poor shots per se, but MJ was frequently doubled or tripled and bypassed wide open teammates for some of these attempts.
There's a very, very fine line. When you're the most athletic dude and all your life you've been able to blow by everybody, single, double, triple teams, they don't matter. And then you get to the NBA and then you get criticized for,
Some of these were really different.
going against 1 versus 4 here and doing this. You wouldn't get the highlights that we all celebrate.
So skilled, it's hard to say.
And when you don't pass it to a wide open John Paxson like this, like is it better for him to apply the pressure to all these guys and attack the rim and shoot a contested layup, or just swing it back here and just be like a normal player? It's very hard to coach an elite talent. You got to give them runway from my perspective, you got to give them runway to make mistakes, because these are the guys that'll create stuff. If you try to box them in too much, I think coaches that do that, they're kind of putting their own ego or their own limiting factors onto that player. I don't know how to describe it, but it's like, since I couldn't do it, I'm going to force you not to do it as well. Whereas like when you're just a crazier, different freak of nature talent, you got to let them try these things, because is what's going to make them great. Like, very, very fine line between, boxing someone in and stifling them versus giving them freedom to run and create and make mistakes and then learn.
Frequently doubled or tripled and bypassed wide open teammates.
Like in high school, so I coach, certain players, and players will go up through different coaches, and certain players will love certain coaches and some players will hate certain coaches because of the way that the coach coaches them. So I have a particular super athletic player that is light years ahead of everybody in terms of athleticism and stuff like that. And he cheats like hell on defense. And sometimes it's wild and it throws off the balance of the defense. And then, it makes the defense look really, really bad. But every now and then, he gets a steal or a block, or he does something crazy. He presses a guy one-on-one full court, and then he gets an easy rip 2-3 times in a row, and you get 6 points all of a sudden. Like, how can you yell at that guy for not playing defense or being too wild? It's very, very fine line, and you have to communicate that with your player. It's just very tough.
For some of these attempts,
like some coaches won't stand that. They'll just bench that dude, and it's like a wild stallion. You just lock them up and try to break them.
High volume shooting
instead of trying to,
who shot into extra coverage while a teammate was open.
Understand the wildness, I guess, or get them to contain themselves.
Spot-up shooters probably didn't hurt that much. And more importantly, these missed passes were easily outweighed by all of the open shots Michael did set up. His constant penetration collapsed defenses into the lane, and when he did opt to pass, Chicago ended up with wide open looks. That last play was a jump pass, and Jordan often went airborne for a shot before checking down to an open shooter like this. That Luigi hang time helped him to react to defensive decisions before finally passing the mic to a fan.
Talking about Luigi.
Passes set up more than just outside shots. Jordan preferred to hit teammates in the lane, and his go-to.
Like some of these, so jump pass in itself is not necessarily bad. It's like, if you don't know what the heck you're doing, do you have the poise to jump up here, commit everybody? Like, literally, Jordan can shoot this. You've seen him shoot it a million times, but in these times, he's actually looking. He's drawing all of these just to look to get his teammates involved. So sometimes you force the action to get your teammates open buckets. So if you just move it, like I said earlier, like a ball mover, you're not going to be great. You're just going to be like any other guy.
Then throwing one right to that vacated spot. Mike loved this jump and dump laydown, where he drove to the basket and then with a big man stepped up to help, found a way to drop it off.
You got to get that guy to commit.
These were some of his best passes, and he really dialed them in during the 1991 playoffs, but he anticipated these little openings more and used his parasailing ability to exploit them more consistently. However, leaving his feet like this caused some issues when he decided not to shoot, holding a hot potato while hovering with no clear outlet. When he was in the air like this,
this is the exact same thing, right? So if you're gonna praise this dude for these type things, right, you can't hate on him for when he does things like this. Like, he could literally shoot that baseline jumper if he wanted to. Like, anytime he could shoot it, but literally MJ's trying to get guys involved. He's trying to force the pass to get others to do stuff, and that's the chemistry. Like,
leaving his feet like this caused some issues when he decided not to shoot.
Like right here, this is an easy turnaround fadeaway. It's one-on-one baseline. He can do it anytime he wants. Maybe this group of teammates wanted him to shoot, thinking that he was going to shoot, and MJ's thinking, hey, these are a bunch of bums. I got to force it and get these guys an easy look.
When he was in the air like this, he was at the mercy of whatever was open. He switches to a pass here, but there's nothing really there. And another problem with passing like this is avoiding all.
So it's like he's a scorer at heart, right? And when I talk about a scorer, they have to be more playmaker eventually, right? If they want to be at the peak of their powers, like the playmaker scorer spectrum, right? The sniper and slasher spectrum, and the defender and the showman spectrum, right? The defender doesn't care about the accolades. They can do everything and get no praise for it. They don't care. Matumbo, right? And then you got the showman. These are the guys that, like, I have a kid that I train right now, and during water breaks, he wants to throw the football all the way. I mean, the basketball all the way across the court. He wants to kick it. He wants to do all kinds of funny stuff. Who cares if the shot goes in? Like he's naturally going to be a more showman right now. He's just playing basketball for the fun of it. Sniper on the one hand, they're the super prepared type. They want to be prepared for everything. And the slasher on the other side is they're just risk takers. They just want to, jump at every opportunity, every kind of ball they think they could deflect, every block they're trying to jump right at everything, every little steal, they're trying to go for it. Playmaker, they're thinking steps ahead. They're thinking about the teammate. They're thinking about how does this piece move this piece. The scorer is like, I don't give a crap. It's just me. I'm the only piece. If I need to do, I'm gonna do it by myself. I'm taking everybody with me. So you're getting this battle between Jordan when he's a ultimate scorer all the time, and then Phil Jackson, whoever's coaching him, is like, hey, you've got to learn how to be a playmaker. Same thing with Kobe. This is LeBron on this side, and now LeBron's moving towards this side. He's starting to carry less. He's starting to shoot threes and all this stuff. So it's very, very different. Same thing right here. Steph Curry, he's a sniper at heart, right? You see him slashing all over the place because he's running around. He's seeing opportunities. It's just very, very, very different, man. You gotta understand this thing. And then all this stuff I made up. This is all from my psychology background, playing a lot of coaching, a lot of training. It's all psychology, right? For me.
Arms and hands. So many of these balls were deflected. And as a result, his reactionary jump passes led to a number of his turnovers. Jordan rarely anticipated openings as a passer. This is a simple lead pass to the streaking Horace Grant, but he had to throw it early and he sees it late, and then he thinks better of it. Simple lead pass to a number of his turnovers. Jordan rarely anticipated.
So right here, Chris Paul, Magic Johnson, Jason Kidd, any of these guys probably would have thrown it. Joker could have thrown it. This is, if you're a Nuggets fan watching, this is like Will Barton. He's always up in the air and he's always late with it, and I always get mad, right? It just is. I coach a bunch of kids and I'm like, throw it sooner, and I could just yell at them all day long, but they'll never see it sooner. They just don't get it until they watch tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of tape. And even if they watch the tape, they can't process the game fast enough to anticipate and understand all these things. So could he have let this dude run down? Could he have gone this way? Could Jordan have lobbed this all the way over here? Could he have slowed up? Could he have done a lot of things to manipulate this 4-on-3 to get a much easier look? Yes. All right. Could he have thrown it there, lobbed it in there? No. Okay. Jordan sees it late. Nope.
But he had to throw it early and he sees it late, and then he thinks better of it. Here he doesn't realize this teammate is uncovered, and so is a dubious jumper instead of a layup pass. On this one, Scottie Pippen's backdoor cut opens the lob, but Jordan sees it after it's free, then fires it, and man could Pippen pass. Most of Michael's best times were more reactive, seeing an opening and then whipping it to a teammate. Despite his reputation, he was always a willing passer, and learning more angles and reads over the years helped him drop higher level dimes like this. He threw in a bit of manipulation beyond that jump pass, going to the look away at times, and this is his peak passing in 1991, moving the defender with his eyes, then impersonating Magic in front of Irving himself. Jordan was also willing to look ahead for outlet passes. This is one of his better ones, and he was a good transition passer, dropping a brilliant dunk to look ahead.
A Ferrari. It's very, very rare, man. Jordan is a Ferrari. He's the apex animal, man. He's the apex thing in the. Why in the world would he throw it ahead to somebody like that? Just go back, okay? He's not going to do that. Like, his instincts is to get the ball and just weave all the way up, and I can run past all of you because you guys are backpedaling. You guys are on the defensive, and I'm a master with this ball. I'm an elite athlete. I can just do a little in and out and just run past all of you and then dunk. So Jordan's not going to be this dude. It just doesn't work like that. If you're like blessed to have all that athletic ability, you're going to want to do it. Like, you're just going to want to run just because like it feels good to have wind in your hair. Like it feels good to jump. Like, you know, the dudes that just like jump for jumping, and then old guys are like, oh man, you jump, it hurts my knees when I watch. And you know, stuff like this. The guys that are outletting, it's like the smarter guys, the guys that aren't as fast. So they're like, I can just throw this. Joker, CP3, like they're just trying to throw it ahead. Kevin Love, Kevin McHale, Larry Bird, like, yeah, you gotta understand this.
For outlet passes, this is one of his better ones, and he was a good transition passer, dropping a brilliant dime on the break every once in a while, too. To be fair, he missed plenty of good passes in these spots as well. Pippin's clear here, and flying into the lane, that familiar drop-off, he has plenty of good passes.
Hell no, I'm a scorer. Yes, I can lob it to Pippin. Shit, I don't care. I'm a much better shooter than passer, so I'm gonna shoot this.
Clear here, and flying into the lane, that familiar drop-off, he is open. In studying passes,
yes, this pass is wide open. This pass is wide open, but if I could dunk with my left hand, jump off my right foot, why not?
He is open. In studying passers over the years, the great ones will find about 90% of these open looks, whereas Michael connected on them about 66% of the time. But keep in mind the sheer volume.
How the hell did he get these calculations? 99 and 66?
About 66% of the time. But keep in mind the sheer volume of open chances he carved out by drawing attention away from his teammates with his perpetual scoring pressure. In the playoffs, there are no more than 5 players in NBA history who created more shots for teammates than Jordan. And if we use the same playmaking estimates from the prior episode, Michael set up his teammates for an open look and estimated 14 times every 100 possessions, a stretch only bested by the game's top offensive engine.
Westbrook, Nash,
from the left.
LeBron James,
last 15 years.
20.
And so, while Jordan was revered for winning 10 scoring titles, he was one of the all-time playmaking machines in league history. That raised a weak roster and carried a strong one later on.
There's one thing that I'm kind of learning as I'm going through some of this stuff and then talking about like scoring. The way that a coach is like relentless pressure, like pressure. How do you create pressure? If you have a dude like Jordan, you want him to attack constantly, attack. Kobe, like certain players let the game come to them, and then some players are just attackers. And Jordan is an attack type dude, like just attack. So how do you choose to attack? Do you choose to attack by moving the ball a ton and moving it around like the Warriors? Or do you have, you know, let me walk it down and every single time I'm going to force feed Shaq? Like that's still relentless attacking. If I'm Giannis and I just get every rebound and I run it down their throat, that's relentless, man. How do you choose to attack? It's based off of your personnel. Like
1985 to 1989, before Scottie Pippen emerged and the triangle took hold, the Bulls' offensive efficiency was only around the average. There was only so much Michael could do as the lone offensive force on a defensively constructed roster. Pippen's emergence gave the Bulls another elite finisher and secondary scoring weapon, but more importantly, another playmaker. Scottie's passing.
Not another playmaker. Pippen was like a defender playmaker.
Underdiscussed, and he was a deadly grab and go player, either finding layups in transition or doing the damage himself as he came down the lane. Pip was also one of the all-time great wing defenders, and that, along with his unselfishness, made him a near-perfect complementary piece next to Michael. Jordan himself improved as a passer at the end of the 80s and into the 90s, and with better teammates, the Bulls roared to some of the best offensive seasons on record, right behind Magic's Lakers. And when we think of
I think it was Kobe that said, it's not that I don't trust my teammates, it's I trust myself more. That is like the epitome of a score of an MJ. It's not that I don't trust my teammates, it's that I trust myself more. So
as having everything run through him on offense, Michael's combination of scoring and playmaking gave him one of the highest offensive loads in playoff history. While Jordan's passing highs were mixed with some blemishes, his defense was even more boom or bust. The highlight reels where he's flying all around the court.
Defense again, boomer bust. I was just talking about the player that a coach that is like this. Like, it's like if you got a weapon, it's like, why aren't you using it? Why wouldn't you use it?
Overlook all of his strikeouts and instead focus on his impressive home runs. For instance, jumping passing lanes like this might produce his most valuable defensive plays. These interceptions could be huge. Pick sixes that went the other way for easy points.
It's kind of like I hate on Russell Westbrook. He's very, very hard to play with. You have to find a certain group of guys that can play with Russell Westbrook. Allen Iverson. Russell Westbrook's very boomer bust. He takes a lot of gambles and he doesn't really play good, solid defense because he's never really had to. All those risks that he takes, it's always paid off throughout his whole life. The problem with that, with any particular talent that is skewed towards you in the beginning, that you're gifted early in life, that you don't learn how to balance out the other stuff. So if you're just like super athletic in terms of athletic, you're not going to develop your skill side. And if you're super hyper duper athletic, you're never going to develop the mind side. When I talk about mind, body, and craft, like if you're, oh God, sorry. So mind, body, craft, if your body is just like thousands and thousands of light years ahead of everybody, like why do you have to study pick and roll reads and defensive coverages and everything like that? Because every time you rebound, the coach just yells at you, go, run, go, go, go. And then you go and you score a layup, you go and you get fouled. Why do you need to develop any type of ball handling, jump shot, anything like this? Like it's just fool's gold in the beginning. And then eventually your body slows down, people catch up, or you get older. And then all of a sudden you realize you don't have a jump shot. Russell Westbrook, Allen Iverson, like you fall off a cliff. Like these players just fall off a cliff. Dwight Howard, he never had any skills. Like he's starting to actually get some skills now. LeBron is an exception right now. He's developed tons of craft, right? He's super smart in terms of the game. So how do you develop your game? How do you coach your team? It's up to you. I mean, these are all things that you have to think about.
And at times, Jordan was like a cornerback sitting on a passing route with elite closing speed. In 1989, Ty aficionado and coach Doug Collins busted out a half-court trap at times, allowing MJ to size up cross-court passes.
Like this is
Doug Collins busted out a half.
Look at this. Jordan's covering that guy, and then he tags him, and then he can recover to that.
To size up cross-court passes and then turn them into easy offense.
Yeah.
But these gambles whiffed as well. Michael would sell out for them. And
So
then
here,
into easy offense. But these gambles.
So here he's going for it. Nope, doesn't get it.
Michael would sell out for them frequently, and in this case, he can cover this kick-out pass here, but is going for more with his steal, and that can lead to wide open looks. By my eye, Jordan hit pay dirt more often than not, but there was a tax to pay for these steal attempts. He could get in passing lanes without gambling, reacting quickly in short space with the defensive equivalent.
So like every time he misses a steal,
by my eye, Jordan hit pay dirt more often than not, but there was a tax to pay.
like right here, does the other team capitalize on it? That even if he misses it, right, and he recovers, the team still has to score the ball. It's 5-on-4 in the back, but the team has to score the ball. So that risk, if the other team doesn't score, there's no consequence for a guy that goes for a steal and just misses it if the team doesn't score. So that has to be calculated into it too. And then, you know, you have to have 4 backline defenders that aren't as risky as Jordan, because if Jordan is risky and all the other guys are risky, then that defense is going to look goddamn awful. Like the back 4 have to know that Jordan is a super risk taking type guard that's going to go for the steals or the blocks, and the other guys have to be a little bit more sound or be in help.
Without gambling, reacting quickly in short space with the defensive equivalent of his first step. This is a bread and butter cross screen of the era, and Jordan not only switches it but pounces like a black cat. And he could shoot the gap with that first. Like
also like the most iconic Jordan thing, right? He comes around, he leaves this guy, and Karl Malone is like backing down, and he steals Karl Malone in the post.
This is airborne for left.
Like the most iconic play of Jordan's career. Like he stole the ball first. Off of, I guarantee you that was not designed. He just went and did it.
And well, Michael's airborne for more than half a second. Michael's quickness helped him keep smaller, shifty point guards in front of him, and on the outside, he could.
You ain't gonna dribble around Jordan.
Dribbler in textbook fashion. For instance, he often guarded Isaiah Thomas during the bad boy battles, and MJ's acceleration allowed him to recover laterally.
There's no way Isaiah's gonna get around Jordan. Jordan is just too tall, too long, too athletic. Isaiah's just too short.
And his combination of size, strength, and agility held Isaiah below his normal scoring numbers in those matchups.
And Isaiah Thomas, one of the best ball handlers of all time. Go watch any of his moves against Jordan and look at how he dribbles. It's super protected. It's side control, the stuff that I talk about here, right? That's just a crossover, right? You won't see him dance here. Get there, side control, fake, go again, side control, protect, post, pivot.
In those matchups. But that Kenny Rogers gambling was part of his man defense too. Michael would backpedal to recover a lot, and his preferred move there was to swipe down for the steal as he slid in front of the dribble. There was a lot of swiping, actually, spamming the Y button at times, and plenty of them connected, but they also gave opponents openings that would have been way harder to find if Jordan had just played it straight up. Also gave opponents a lot of swiping, actually.
Right here, every time they slow down, he comes for a swipe. Right here again, he anticipates the full spin, and then he swipes again.
And plenty of them connected.
So he backs up the angle. this is what I'm talking about. Like when you're super smart offensively, if you transfer it over to defense, you can be a very, very feisty defender, very, very smart defender without being super duper athletic. Jordan knows all the offensive moves. He knows how to spin. He knows how to protect the ball as he's jumping and he's scoring. So when he's guarding guys and he sees spins coming and stuff like that, he knows how to position his body defensively to make the ball available for a swipe, make his hands available for a swipe.
They also gave opponents openings that would have been way harder to find if Jordan had just played it straight up.
Like Jordan's not going to play it straight up.
First on Joe Dumars here, then another reach around for the steal. He lunged for steals a lot on the block like this, and here that lets the smaller Brian Shaw turn clear for an easy look. MJ did flick.
Like this is not an easy look.
Here that lets the smaller Brian Shaw
Okay, he's harassing him here, and then he jumps around. Brian Shaw has to lean forward and then shoot a bank shot.
MJ did.
That's not easy.
Leading to deflection. Smaller Brian Shaw turned clear for an easy look. MJ did flick plenty of balls this way, leading to deflections or turnovers, man. But he was usually overly aggressive with his move, lurching at air not once on this play, but twice leading to a layup.
Like that, like this is a little bit risky. This is like Magic Johnson. He just see Magic Johnson side control. He's just getting pressure from Jordan. Jordan's wearing down Magic Johnson. That's all he's doing there, right? You can be aggressive all the way out here. So then he can recover here because Magic's not going to burst all the way from half court. Right here, this is a bad gamble. Magic's just posting him. Okay, Magic's bigger and stronger. So Jordan has no chance other than to reach. He can play him straight up, but it's still going to be the same kind of thing.
He brought those same habits to the post, a swipe down move or a little flick. And while he stripped opponents some time, I think he was better off playing straight up against post players and using his athleticism and strength to contest. Against our old friend Magic in the 1991 finals, Jordan gambled.
If you play straight up in the post, you're a guard, you're the weaker guy. The only reason somebody's posting you up is because they're stronger than you. Okay, they're stronger than you. And if you get bashed and battered every single time playing defense, do you know what the hell that does to your legs? That drains and saps the shit out of your legs. So the Ferrari can't go up and down, can't go 100 miles per hour. This makes no sense. Like, play basketball. If you play defense, your legs feel like shit. That jumper's not doing anything.
Finals, Jordan gambled.
Yeah.
And then gambled. And then gambled. And was absolutely.
How tall is Magic? 6'10"?
On occasion, Chicago sent a second defender, and you know what happened. Another defensive gambit. Jordan
right. So it's like all this stuff makes Jordan look like a terrible post defender, but you have to look at it like in its entirety of his whole game. And those things, didn't he beat the Lakers? So risk reward of him gambling, him balancing out how much he has to play defense, like sound defense versus gambling type defense. Is his legs wearing down? Is Magic wearing down? Is he wearing him down over a whole series? There's so much going on, man.
With unsuspecting players and let those giant hands pickpocket people. As Karl Malone knows all
right here. Like, he should have went with Jeff Hornacek. There's absolutely no reason for him to leave one of the best shooters of all time, Jeff Hornacek, right? Just give me this, bro. Like here, like this is super duper risky. He's coming all the way baseline side, anticipating he could leave his dude. And that's Hakeem Olajuwon, like one of the best centers of all time. He comes all the way from around, leaves his man, and then leaves the other 2 or 4 to play like kind of a zone.
Of course, there was a small price to pay when he couldn't cash in on these because it left his mark wide open without structured rotations. And even after this play turns into a more standard trap.
What was that? Charles Barkley.
Wide open the whole time on the other
so look at how much chaos this causes. He reads that Barkley doesn't have a good handle.
Because it left his mark wide open without structured rotations.
Right here, Barkley does not have a great handle, so he's just reading Barkley. He's just letting his dude cut through all the way through. That guy, okay, if this guy was a smarter offensive player, he probably should have just read Jordan and then came back to right here or came to this short corner so he can get a pass from Barkley. But this dude, he's just run the offense, doing what the coach is telling him to do, right? Pass it to Barkley, cut through, get the hell out the way. But Jordan's just wrecking plays. He's just causing havoc. So then there's like all kinds of pressure, and now Barkley's getting pressured all the way out here in the corner. Here comes a trap, right? He has to jump all the way, throw it all the way across his back of his body. There's almost another steal here.
On the other side of the court. Michael just had an uncovered.
Right, this team does a great job of figuring it out and getting it back to the other side. But I guarantee you this type of activity, it's infectious defensively. That's why those teams were very, very feisty defensively.
To make plays on defense back then. He's guarding a shooter here, but drifts into the paint looking for action, and that was Randy Whitman's fourth straight jumper. Jordan worked like this because he did make a ton of plays from the paint. One of his favorites was swooping straight jumper.
Michael Jordan was a great shot blocker because of this as well. Right, off guard shot blocking. Right, the Bulls didn't have great shot blocking, so it was up to him and Pippen to get some shot blocking or some rim protection.
His favorites were swooping in at the exact moment post players were shooting, and MJ was one of the best shot blocking guards of all time.
There it is.
Leverage that athleticism to hang and reach shots, and this gave him a level of rim protection that most guards couldn't match. These saves at the hoop were high value plays, and
like shot blocking is not easy, guys. If you ever try to jump up and time somebody's shot, you have to be athletic. You have to maneuver your body to get around. You have to, be cautious not to kill somebody on the landing or hurt yourself on the landing. You have to have hand-eye coordination. There's so much involved in shot blocking.
that defies physics.
Like just jumping makes people scared, right? They're nervous. They're like, what the hell is this guy jumping up? So they have to either shoot it higher, change different angles. Like altering shots is more important than actually shot blocking.
Even with a little less verticality, by 1990 or 91, he could still fly in and save the day. This play from 1989 demonstrates the big payoff of Jordan lurking near the lane. He's able to stop a dunk, and his quick reaction and elevation would be elite even for a big man.
He jumps from the opposite block.
His quick reaction.
This is like the opposite side. He's not even underneath the rim yet. That's a quick jump. Oof.
Those aerial superpowers even allowed him to protect the rim from behind. He served as a backstop here by flying into the free throw line on this incredible.
So like if he jumps like this, like
I don't know about
players don't get this. Like normally you would try to jump right here, but since he's so aggressive and jumping, this guy has to hold the ball a little longer, and then he's gonna have to get underneath Jordan's arm, and then he's gonna run into this wall. Like this level of aggression really screws up offenses.
into the free throw line on this incredible rotation.
Like he just happens to poke it out
by flying into the free throw line on this incredible rotation. I don't know about you, but I find Jordan's high-risk defensive style to be difficult to evaluate. If we look at ours, I don't know about you, but
so here, right? He can run in front because if he runs in front and this guy picks it up, Pippen's gonna slap it on the glass. Like this is a great defensive play. I'm not shielding him right here. This would be stupid. Like I'm not gonna run with him and just play straight up. I'm going to run in front of him, force him to pick this ball up. I'm gonna swipe at it, and if this dude picks it up and tries to lay it up, I trust that my buddy Scottie Pippen can pin this thing on the backboard. I don't know, man. People don't know how to play basketball, or am I just like, I don't know. Like that's a great steal. Even if he didn't get that steal, that should be a pin on the backboard.
I don't know about you, but I find Jordan's high risk.
So Pippen's timing it. Okay, so he swipes it. Pippen's about to jump. See, they all jump. Pippen's jumping. Like
difficult to evaluate. If we look at our historical impact metrics, he's right at the top of the heap with a nice lead in my box plus minus model. But
data's very, very hard. Right? Data. The people say numbers don't lie. Numbers lie all the time because somebody has to interpret the numbers, and you can always make up stats, all kinds of stuff.
What we really care about is
I don't even like Jordan that much.
So the team here at Thinking Basketball combed through nearly 200 old Jordan games.
Oh my God.
Minus, and the team here at Thinking Basketball combed through nearly 200.
Give me this, boy. So he jumps early, and that dude has to face the other guy who's back there.
So the team here at Thinking
So he gets these blocks early. So here he's already jumping, so this guy can't jump. So that the Lakers guy has to jump late because Jordan's in the air.
100 old Jordan games to calculate his plus minus and give us a better picture of his impact. In the playoffs from 1989 to 1991, Jordan's Bulls were outscored by 12 points every 48 minutes when he sat on the bench, but they outscored opponents by 8 points when he played. There's some noise in stats like these, but Chicago's 20-point increase with Jordan in the game would rank 9th since the league began tracking this in 1997, which puts him up with the all-time results, but certainly doesn't separate him from
plus 20.
As we've seen, he was quick to rotate all-time results.
Best player that David Robinson, probably. David Robinson.
Separate him from the pack. As we've seen, he was quick to rotate most of the time. Here the play unfolds rapidly and Michael jumps on the threat. But I wouldn't say he had great help awareness. He's late recognizing this despite a teammate pointing it out, and he could become momentarily preoccupied with action in front of him, forgetting to rotate for a second. he was a strong enough defensive rebounder as a guard that it probably added some value.
Like Jordan is known for being, I don't know, high roller gambler. What in your mind would make you think that he's gonna play basketball straight up? Just what in your mind thinks that if this dude is like addicted to gambling, he's gonna play a game, a strategy game where he's actually involved in the game, has an impact on the game, that he's gonna play it straight up? He's a gambling man. Asymmetric risk. Leave the bums. Triple team the best guy. Let's go for steals. Who cares if I miss? If they don't score, I don't get penalized. If I get a steal, for sure, I'm getting a dunk.
Value to his defensive game. And given all of his defensive strengths and weaknesses, I view him overall as a strong all-league defender, but not quite an all-time defensive wing. There are still larger questions to think about here. How would he fit next to a coach?
Not an all-time defensive wing. I guess the only real way to even like judge any of these things is you would have to go ask all the people that he guarded and all the teams that he played against. Like, just, hey, was Jordan a good or bad defender, or did he just F everything up all the time? Like, I don't know. It'd be that simple, I guess.
Post player who wanted the ball more. Are there diminishing returns next to a ball-dominant star? And what's his legacy look like if Scottie Pippen never emerged? What's undeniable?
What kind of question is this? What is his legacy if Scottie Pippen doesn't emerge? I mean, you can't ask these questions.
And what's his legacy look like if Scottie Pippen never emerged? What's undeniable is that Jordan was the first.
What happens if Jordan never had this kind of leaping ability? What if Jordan never developed a jump shot? What if Phil Jackson was never born? What kind of dumbass questions are these?
With mega scoring and playmaking, which puts him in the conversation for greatest offensive player ever. And given his defensive impact, it's easy to see why Michael Jordan is often considered the greatest basketball player of all time.
Oh, scoring rate super high, offense first step and aerial control lead to all-time penetrator, elite mid-range pull-up. Huge playmaker with good reactive passing, active off-ball cuts, rebounding. Issues shooting into doubles or stuck in the air, weak three-point shooter. Excellent in passing lanes and active, strong hands, good man D versus smaller guys, some rim protection with good not to great awareness. He was the best like off-ball or guard shot blocker. Excellent rebounder. Yes, lots of gambling leads to many errors, vulnerable in post. All true. Everything here is true. But in that time and in that era, everything he did, whether it's risky, not risky, can't shoot a three, can't go tween, hezzy behind the back, spin, crossover, made him the best player ever of that era for sure. Was he the best player ever? I don't know, maybe not. But back then, for sure, he dominated the game. He changed the whole game. He changed the whole freaking basketball universe. Can't take that away from him. So yes, yes, and yes. I don't know. I was never really a Michael Jordan fan, but I gotta respect the guy. I don't like LeBron. I hate LeBron. I actually don't like him, but I can respect all his greatness in, playing, I don't know, 19, 20 years, evolving his game from more of a dunker and a passer. Now he can actually shoot and post a little bit. I see all of that. I'm biased, but I'm also not biased, man. Yeah, this one, for some reason, it made Jordan look really bad. Normally I would say, yeah, but Jordan, one of the greatest, if not the greatest. That's all, man. I feel aggravated. Until next time, take 14 minutes, 24 seconds, or 1% of your day to get better.